having fun? Any fun things you guys have done so far? Few things. Okay, cool. It's still early. You got a lot of time. It's Friday. Got to get down on Friday, guys. You got plenty of time. All right. Oh, hey, we have more people. Hello. No, it's all good. Welcome. Hey. I was just about to announce you. This is our Cyanide and Happy guys. Hey. Welcome. And then we might as well bring April. April, you want to come on out?
We're supposed to do it, sorry.
No, it's all good. You're fine. We're going to keep it relaxed and chill. A few housekeeping. So I'm going to be your moderator. I'm going to be asking these lovely people some questions. And we have 2 runners. Where are they? Can you wave? We got one of our runners back there. And Dee, where are you? I think she's backstage. She's going to be your other runner. So when we're going to do 30 minutes of me asking you guys a bunch of questions. And then we're going to do 30 minutes of you guys' questions. Does that sound simpatico? Awesome. Okay, very cool. You guys just want to jump right in?
Sure.
Okay, cool.
Wait, is it just us?
You know,
Nice and intimate.
It was hard to find.
was it? Oh, I'm sorry.
You know, that's why I came up the stage to get.
I was just like, oh, hey, what's up? Yeah, you know, how about, let's keep it loosey-goosey. We're going to jump right in, and if they show up, then we'll be like, oh my gosh, it's our other people. Yeah? Does that sound good?
Let's interview them instead.
Yeah. Now, guys, how did you get into cosplaying? Seriously. No. All right, we'll do that later. So let's start out with an easy one. How's you guys' MomoCon been so far?
It's been really
It's been really good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Any fun stories so far? Any cool things you've seen?
Everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody's
Everybody's
cool.
been super
All
cool.
their
Yeah.
beautiful faces.
Yeah.
I just like people watching from my table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I have enough art up. I have a little peephole where it's like I just watch people.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
oh, that's
yeah.
a cool costume. I like that
Yeah.
costume.
We just saw a really cool cosplay. It was a guy dressed up as a Spider-Man Midoriya.
Oh,
yeah.
no
So-
way.
My husband
good.
saw that.
Yeah.
good.
I couldn't see it though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can hear my cough, so I would imagine you guys can hear me.
Sniffle.
You're fine. We'll just have you like lean and like.
Yeah.
Well, cool. So, have you guys visited any other panels so far?
No time.
No
Okay.
time.
No
You
time.
have
Yeah.
plenty of time. It's just Friday. It's Friday
Mhm.
morning. I was just telling these guys that. So let's jump into this. How did you guys get into the animation world? I know you guys don't, you kind of work within animation, also around animation. You guys do various aspects of it. How did you guys get originally involved, and what sparked the interest?
Well, I guess, my dream was like, oh, I want to work for Disney. And so in college, I'm like, I want to go after that. Except I was a fine art painter, and so all I did was oil paintings. And so I went to CTN out in California, and I was like, what do I need to do? And they're like, all your art's so relevant. You need to, make a visual development portfolio. So I spent, 2 years working on that. I ended up taking a class in Nickelodeon, and we basically had to, make pitch an animation idea to them in 2 weeks. And I made some friends through that, and I got to meet a few Nickelodeon people, and eventually I applied for a freelance gig for SpongeBob SquarePants, where I got to paint some backgrounds with them, and they're like, yeah, here's an art test, and they liked it, so I got to do background paintings for them over in Georgia, which was really cool. So, yeah, contract work.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
For me, I always kind of drew since I was, as long as I can remember. I got into animation around 2005 when, I don't know if you guys know Knox, he does claymations back in the day on Newgrounds. And so I started doing claymations, then I did a lot of comics. I ended up drawing, getting into Toon Boom around 2007, just doing tutorials and stuff. My high school had a broadcast journalism class, which was really cool. That was kind of you could kind of create whatever you wanted, and the entire school would get to watch what you made. So I made a lot of animations for that, and that kind of got me into the mindset of seeing what audiences reacted to, and then I would try to make something funnier and see if they liked that more. Went to UT Dallas. They had an animation and technology course or major program, yeah. And really, a lot of the stuff that I ended up doing on my own time was more valuable than the curriculum directly. So I think that's a big part of it is, you know, develop your style on your own time and make sure you put the work in yourself. And I was looking for a job in the UTD library, and Saturday Night and Happiness had a job listing up for like animators. So I'm like, what? Okay, so I just applied for that in like June 2013. I've been working there ever since, so worked out.
Similar story. I like storytelling and just film in general. So I was growing up, all I did was watch cartoons and anything I could on repeat and rerun all day and night. And going into middle school, was always drawing with my friends, and high school, we did like a lot of like the flip animation stuff. And then high school, took an animation course, and at the same time when I graduated, they gave me a degree, but they also gave me this like outstanding Animator award like certificate, which was super cool. And they were like, this is the first time we've ever done this. I was like, oh, fantastic, awesome. I framed that, and like my degree, I don't know, it's in a drawer somewhere. And from there, I actually went to UT Dallas as well. And I pitched, basically they had a program there where if you have an idea that you want to pitch, what we'll do is we'll gather a bunch of students where they have to kind of, it's like a job. They got to submit portfolios and apply for it. And so they said, who wants to pitch? And like I looked around and like nobody went in on it. And I was like, well, I'll do it. And I didn't have anything. So that was a Friday, and they're like, great, pitch is Wednesday. I was like, awesome. So came up with a story, and 14 months later, like it got chosen, and we made it, and it did really, really, really well. And it was something that we did, like Mike was saying, like developing like your own style. I had like a very specific style and look that I wanted to do, and I kind of held to that. And it was awesome because it was the first short to come out of that New Buildings program, and went on to showcase at a lot of our local theaters. Our Perot Museum, which just got redone or remodeled or whatnot, it pre-screened there for like 6 months. And so I don't know if you guys are, I'm guessing if you guys are in here, you might know what SIGGRAPH is. I guess not. SIGGRAPH is like one of the largest like animation technology conferences. And we submitted it, and it got chosen. And that was such a cool thing. A lot of us got to fly out to LA, and when we were there, we had interviews with DreamWorks and several other companies, and we all kind of branched out. Some of us went to DreamWorks, some went to Disney. I got a call from these guys because I had some friends working at Cyanide, and they're like, hey, we have a production that's going up and happening, and we think you could be a good fit. So I just went in, and the rest was history. So here I am, and I get to talk to you guys. So, yeah.
And they've all progressed through their hard work. Okay, so I actually do have some questions for you guys now. Can I get a raise of hands who wants to be an animator here?
Ooh.
Okay, lovely. Can I also get a raise of hands of who knows what a demo reel is? Okay, so I'm gonna now grill these guys on demo reels. So I think we have a wide variety of ages, probably any high schoolers in here? Okay, we got a few. Perfect. This
guy doesn't know where he's at right here. What was that?
Somewhere.
I'm in between. Yeah.
So this is a question for you guys. So you guys, please listen to this. So when you guys were in high school, everybody has an idea of what a demo reel is, right? But then as you talk to people, as you develop as an animator, you talk to more professionals and get a better idea of what a reel is. What have you guys learned along the years about progressing your reel?
Right.
Yeah, that's so I get fortunately, like with my current position, I actually am the one that like sifts through all the applications and all the demo reels. I think the number one thing that I have learned, not just for myself, but just watching, like I'm talking hundreds of reels, is I get it, like you guys are in school and you're doing your assignments and stuff, and this is like beating a dead horse, but really taking the initiative to do your own work shows the progression that you are that you have made as an individual, because if you're putting your class homework on there, you and 12 other of your classmates are doing the same thing, And all that's showing me is that you followed a guide step by step on what you were supposed to be doing for for those several weeks. And I don't know how much you can actually do more outside of that. And so really taking the time outside of your classes, outside of your work, and whatever it is that you're doing to develop your, again, style and craft. Trust me, when you do it on your own and there's nobody there to help you, it's gonna break a million times, and that is 100% when you're gonna get better. So doing your own work that really stands out from, you know, the rest of everybody, that is super, I think, super important, super key. And 9 times out of 10, those are usually the people that we go with because they've learned skills and processes that you wouldn't have learned in a classroom, because that's a limited time and you're just trying to get from point A to point B. You know, like if you know I got to go down this road and it's a straight path, great, you're obviously going to get there, but if a tree falls in the way, then where are you going to go? So, yeah, that's something that I think is super important I've kind of learned over the years.
Yeah, I know when I was 18 applying to all these art colleges, my first instinct was like, hey, I'm super prolific. I've made so much stuff. Let me show off everything that I've ever made. So I had a really long reel that was probably dragged, and they probably never got to the end of it.
Yeah.
I think one thing that I definitely learned from working at Cyanide and Happiness and being on the other side of the hiring process, which is super weird, is just patterns and, like, you know, put your best stuff up front. And I think some advice that I got that is really worthwhile, I think, is to tailor your reel to where you're applying to. So because I was applying to Cyanide and Happiness, a bunch of my personal projects that were a little more raunchy and were a little more kind of like adult humor in them, I would put that there. I would never put that in like a reel to Disney or something. Also, you know, they animate in Flash, so I put a lot of my Flash stuff. I didn't include like 3D animation stuff, even though that is nice to see too. But I think the easier you make it for the studio to say, oh, they can already do what we do, that's a huge leg up, because we've had like traditional Disney animators who are like legendary, and their stuff is so cool, and we're like, yeah, we'll throw them a shot, but they don't use Flash typically. So the rigs come out looking janky and stuff, and we're like, oh my God, like it's hard to make that leap of faith to say, okay, I think they can do this.
Yeah,
so
and how do you tell them no?
Yeah.
That's the hard part too.
No, yeah, someone who's like 40 years your senior, and obviously is better than you, but just not at Flash.
Yeah.
So I think that's a huge part. Keep it short. Put only the stuff that you would consider your absolute best. Put it up front, because they're clicking through and they're gonna move right past it if they're not impressed right away. So yeah, that's pretty much me.
So for me, I'm more on the 2D side of animation. So I did backgrounds for SpongeBob, which is definitely more like the not moving part. And I guess for me, like, I went after that because I had a fine art background, and I was like, oh, well, that very much falls, I think, within my wheelhouse. But at the time, like, my professors didn't know what that was. They called it the lesser art, and I'm like, oh gosh. And so I basically had to go on my own to find, like, what do I need to put in my portfolio, because I was putting fine art, being like, well, look at this awesome human that I painted. Clearly I can do everything else. But when I showed animators, they're like, we want to see that you can do the job. You know, look at whatever you're wanting to put your portfolio towards and then do that. I was also told, like, if you have a company that you're really into, then find the artists that work there and then look at their portfolio, but then do it better, you know? But yeah, with mine, it was just talking to a lot of people in the industry, being like, how did you do it? Looking at their portfolio, emulating that, but also doing it in my own style, and also cutting back a lot of work, where it's like, instead of 20 pieces, I had like maybe 10. Because same thing, I worked in-house at a video game studio, and we'd see portfolios where it's like scroll, okay, I'm done. But when you can scroll through it pretty quickly and being like, oh wow, I know that they can do the job, and all these are great, rather than like finding the weak ones and then focusing on the weak ones, you just see all the strengths, which is really nice. But yeah, for me, at least for SpongeBob, I was able to do that because I was like, well, SpongeBob backgrounds were traditional, so I knew I could do that, and it was flat and it's not moving because I don't animate. So yeah, finding people that you really like looking at their work and going after it that way.
So let's go into another avenue that I think we're all very well aware of, that marketing yourself on the internet is very important. I know for you guys at Cyanide and Happiness, very important. I know for you, April, probably the same. For all of us who want to work in animation, being able to market yourself online is very important. How would you guys say that the best, most effective way to kind of, or diverse ways to connect with your audience would be?
That's tough because that's changing like every day. One day it was like, you know, hey, make your own website. Now it's like, you don't even got to do that. Just get on Instagram.
Right.
We were actually just having this discussion yesterday. Like, the hottest platform right now is Instagram. So, you know, even if it's animation, like, you can put up, you know, a 30-second animation that you did, and that's just easy to just go through and see, and you can build a lot of like followers and like viewership and building your brand as an individual there. So that's tough because you just kind of gotta keep up with, I guess,
The trends.
for the trends. Yeah, you gotta keep up with the
cool
trends.
things.
So having your own site, I think, is super beneficial no matter what. Just having a site to have up. Don't ever look mine up; it's garbage. So my advice, I don't know how flawed it is now, but making your own site just so people have a directory if you don't have anything to go to, and then having that branch off to other places for more like specific things works. But having your own site is obviously just one of the best ways to do it. And as far as marketing goes, again, that's just social media. I mean, you have Facebook, you can make a page, but I think as far as getting it out there, the easiest one right now would be Instagram. That's only because we've also had a lot of discussions about it at the office. So Instagram works right now. I'd say go for that, and then just watch the trends.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
What he said. I know. I mean, this is tangentially related.
Tangentially.
Ooh, yes. One of the pieces of advice that Rob, one of the creators of Cyanide and Happiness, gave me when I started doing my own webcomic was just to stay consistent. I guess whatever platform you're on, they were saying that when they first started out doing the comics, they thought it'd be a good idea to take 2 weeks off just to take a break because they were doing them every single day. And they said they had a huge, like, the internet has such a short attention span. They were like, oh, they're dead. And then they just stopped following. So it's like, even if you're, I guess, reposting, even on the YouTube channel, we're kind of doing like compilations just to be like, no, we're still here, we're okay. It's like, because we post new shorts pretty much once a week, which in an internet age is like, it's like dog years.
Right.
I can't binge watch.
Right, yeah, exactly. So yeah, just kind of keep consistent, I would say. Whatever platform, which apparently now it's Instagram, so.
Yeah, another one, I guess, like portfolio-wise, is ArtStation is pretty good. For me, I use Instagram and Twitter just for art, and it's kind of like generally almost day-to-day, just like, hey, this is what I'm doing, here's progress stuff, here's finished work, but like my final pretty pieces I put on ArtStation, but then I have more on my ArtStation, but then I have a separate dump website where I have like a ton of stuff. But then I have a portfolio website which has like the 10 pieces I send to companies where it's like, hey, look at these 10 awesome ones. And if they want to look at my other stuff, that's fine. But it's like, this is what I've chosen as my decision that I think is the best. And I think that still works best, at least when you're applying. And yeah, as far as that goes.
Very cool.
Oh, and then one other thing I was going to say, because it was talking about like getting yourself out there. Because Instagram's great, I think, technology-wise, but at least personally, what I found is that meeting people is really huge.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I mean, how I got the Nickelodeon thing was meeting people. I think, I mean, definitely my portfolio spoke for itself, but knowing that I wasn't a jerk probably helped. And yeah, I flew out to California like 4 times, just like talking to people, being like, hey, this is me, here's my portfolio, and then keeping in contact with them, being like, hey, I'm alive, like with email, but being genuine too really helps. So it's like meeting people and keeping that web alive.
That is a great point. I think when I got hired on as Cyanide and Happiness, I was like the first hired artist, and I was just a rando. And then they were looking for a producer, so I recommended a guy that I knew, and then he recommended a guy that he knew to be an animator, and then he recommended a girl he knew. So it's like, it was just domino effect of people you know who aren't assholes, and you're like, yeah, because you know, it's a little bit of added security, like peace of mind,
Yeah.
because you never know who you're bringing on, if they're going to be cool. And so, yeah, be friendly to everyone you meet, you know, be cool, leave an impression on people.
Yeah, I have to tangent off of that too. Like it's so one of the way I kind of view it, and to also sound super hipster is like not necessarily networking, but you just want to go make cool friends, because at the end of the day, like you guys are all here because you want to make animation, right? Like you just want to make cool stuff, and that's literally like why we did it too. And so it's just going over to somebody, and people do like talking about themselves, so just talk to them, you know, like, hey, I love your work, like you genuinely do, right? You want to meet the person and you want to learn from others, and being, you know, a very personable, interactive person goes a long way. And going to all the events that you can go to, like April was saying, like she went out to California a bunch, just go, just do it. Like I've literally, even in college, like when I couldn't afford going to any, whether it was a convention or a con or anything like that, or a conference, I would volunteer. I volunteered at all of them just so I could get in. And at one point, I volunteered at this local like industry meetup thing, and I ended up being in the room where they interviewed all like the directors and animators and stuff. And so from there, I just started talking with them, and then I met a lot of people through them. And then yeah, like again, it just branches off, and you will be shocked at how much everybody knows everybody. It's terrifying.
Very small.
It's so
Like,
small.
You guys
Oh yeah,
are,
my
you
friend
guys,
Glenn Keane.
yeah, you guys will probably run into each other again without knowing it, you know, once you look into animation.
Yeah, it's incredible. So definitely meeting people is the best. Just be personable, be relaxed, and be you. I mean, we're all, again, trying to do the same thing.
So I got two more for you guys. I'm gonna hog them a little more before we do Q&A. Number one, so actually three, sorry. So egos don't work in this industry.
Nope.
No.
No.
Resounding no?
No,
Okay.
no.
No egos.
Next question.
Get them out of here.
We all have a little bit of an ego, but don't be a jerk. I
Yeah.
mean,
Fair enough.
Be confident,
yes.
but
Right.
not
Right.
mean.
Right.
Right, don't be like, well, this is my reel. Right?
It's
So
real
I can
cool.
I can tell you a story about that. There was a guy that a veteran, a veteran that was like, you know, 40 years, you know, he's been doing it and stuff. And again, it was one of those situations where we didn't know if he could animate in Flash. So I had to dig through his stuff. Like, for whatever reason, his resume was 9 pages long. Don't ever do that. Short, sweet, simple. 1 page works.
Yeah.
And he had all of his badges scanned. I'm like, well, this is just intriguing. I got to dig into this. And I had to go on his LinkedIn to find more of his work. And on the 4th page, we saw a pencil-drawn like animation test, and we were like, holy crap, this is like one of the best things we've ever seen come through here. Like now, like this makes no sense. So I messaged him. I was like, hey, you know, I saw you applied, and we're super interested. We would just like to see if you're able to do it in our style, you know, through Flash and stuff, which we're not Flash anymore. We're Toon Boom, but at the time we were. And his immediate response was one word, like entered down. So it was just like this column, and it was, you know, basically calling me out like, you know, hey, I've been doing this for, you know, 40 years. How can you ask me for a test? If you want a test, then you have to pay me, you cheapo. And he was calling me all these names and was like, I'm a veteran, blah, blah, blah. And long story short, after being called a lot of names and how I'm cheap, he said, I'm trying really hard to be nice here. So,
But
so yeah, he didn't get the job.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. No
Fun
jerks.
to hang out around
Yeah.
the office. Like,
Right.
hey, Fred, how you doing today?
Yeah.
I've been in this industry for 40.
Yeah,
back
yeah,
in
40
my
years.
day,
Yeah.
we had 10 pages.
Oh my God.
We've had people on the other side of employment, like who we have had employed around like season 1 of the show. Just like this guy was so good, but he was like a raw nerve. And if you gave a note on his beautiful work, he would just leave an essay about how you were an idiot and like how. And I'm like, I am an idiot, but like also these are valid notes. And so, but it was just, you know, it's like we couldn't work with him. It's like it's a shame because he does awesome work. It takes a long time for him to do it, but it looks great. But it's just the stress that it puts on everyone who has to like, you have to say, okay, how do I write this note in a way that he won't explode? How do I be very ginger with, you have to be.
Communicate.
Yeah. I think people will happily take someone with half the talent if they're twice as good at communicating, if they can take notes, if they can.
Yeah, not be hurt if they be told no.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Those people are willing to progress.
Yeah.
Right.
So you'll get there.
To learn.
Yeah. Someone like that who will collaborate and will take notes, they'll grow into the role. You don't need someone who's ultra talented but ultra combative. So, no room for ego.
Okay, so communicate, be nice,
Be nice.
have a small ego. Little ego.
Ego.
You can have one. But
Yeah.
be confident but not
You
a
should
jerk.
feel proud of what
Yeah.
you do.
Right.
You definitely want to be confident. You want to carry yourself, to where you are proud of what you do, because you don't want to demean yourself and downplay, all the hard work that you've put in. Like, be proud of what you do, but don't be showboaty where you're shoving it like in people's face. Let it be, natural.
Yeah.
All right, so the last thing I want to ask, and then we will jump over to you guys, is any projects you guys are currently working on that you want to plug? This is totally your time.
Yeah. We are working on, if you guys aren't familiar, we have obviously the weekly shorts on YouTube, which, it's very strange. We see people that are like, yo, we love the comics, never seen the animations. Or we love the animations, never seen the comics. So it's very interesting to see that there's selective
You were the guy.
viewerships.
You're the card game guys.
Yeah, the card game.
Everybody, they know they're separated.
Yeah, it's like high school. They've all grouped up.
Yeah.
No, but if you're not familiar, we have a show, like the actual Cyanide and Happiness show on Verve, VRV. I don't know if they call it Verve or if they call it VRV, but that. It's
call it
Verve.
They call it
So Verve,
Confirmed.
Yeah.
it'll be, we have 3 seasons on there, and we're working on the 4th season.
Yeah.
And it's going to be one of our best, if not the best.
Yeah.
It's incredible. We also have our upcoming video game coming out, point-and-click adventure, if you like classic point-and-click adventures where you get to live in the world of Cyanide and Happiness. So that's going to be super exciting, and a lot more, but I won't say.
Cool. What he said. We work together.
Yeah, for me, I'm working on a lot of my own personal projects. I'm also been recently getting back into the fine art scene in Atlanta, so I'll probably be in a few more shows. And then I am working on a project right now, but I can't talk about it. So if you follow me on Instagram or Twitter, you'll probably see more of that in the next couple months. So
Very cool. Very mysterious as well. Everybody being so coy. So do you guys want to do some Q&A?
Joke's on you, we don't have anything going on.
I know. Actually, there's nothing.
Can I get my runners? Where are my runners at? Where my runner at? There she is. She's got a green panel and really cute dress. She's coming up, doing a catwalk down the front. Dee, are you around? Is Dee? Okay, so go up,
Just like
line up,
you.
please, and don't hit or maul each other by
No,
the
no
beautiful
mauling.
lady in
Yeah,
pink.
remember, be nice.
Friends, not food.
I saw one panel once where people were like,
Swimming through the mic.
oh, jeez.
This World War Z.
Yeah, no, literally, like,
I just wanted to ask if you guys have any advice or recommendations for people who want to start out as storyboard artists.
Oh,
I would probably say do a lot of gesture drawing, a lot of drawing.
right. My first position at Explosion was actually an animatic artist, which is kind of, storyboards pretty much. And when I started, I was an animator. I did not have a mind for composition.
Yes.
And so I had to pick that up pretty quickly. This is pretty specific, but there are these 2 awesome PDFs called How to Storyboard the Simpsons Way. And there's one for King of the Hill. They're both by Brad Bird, who, if you watch through his stuff, he has awesome storyboarding and, really awesome composition. And it was kind of like college school after school, where I was teaching myself through watching that stuff very intently. So I think that's a huge benefit to kind of check out stuff like that, kind of like industry notes. So you have an exact sort of. There's also an awesome textbook called Prepare to Board, which you might already, if you're going to school for that, you might already have access to that book.
It's a visual story by Bruce Block, I believe was his name. That's really good too. I mean, the story isn't just the characters. It's the shot. It's the
Yeah.
it's
The angles.
it's the angles. It's the like everything in the composition tells a story. So
Right.
definitely being able to showcase good
Yeah.
composition helps.
And this might be a little weird, but I took a lot of reference shots. If I was like having trouble positioning the camera, I'd like take my phone, put little action figures where I want them to be, and just kind of like take a snapshot of what it would look like. So yeah, anything like that where you can just make it easier for yourself to see this stuff.
There's also the book Framed Ink. Forget the author, but that one's really, really good. And then I think there's a website too where it's like movies frame by frame, where you can see where they do cuts and like the mood and the colors, but you're not going to do colors, but you know, the composition part.
Yeah, I'll say one more thing real quick, just so we can get through everybody. But another thing that I see a lot of storyboard artists halt themselves on is they think that they have to be fantastic illustrators, and like you don't. Like you can do stick figures, and it just has to get the point across. It just has to be clear.
Right.
So Chris Sanders was talking. He's an amazing artist, and he was talking like he just well, I don't know. Maybe I hope he doesn't ever see this, but I believe he said. That he just scribbles them down and just gets a point across. They're super dirty, super rough. As long as it can read, then you're good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No problem.
I don't know why he would ever see this, but
All right. So my question is there any way where you have impractical solutions to like an animation you're doing? Like you would see something that would not be relating to what you're trying to animate or draw that would somehow help you like complete the task you were doing. It might be a little bit confusing, but I hope I got the point across there.
Are you talking about like reference?
Yeah, like reference, something like that.
Yeah.
Like something outside that you would never thought would have helped you like complete something.
I think for me, it's like same thing. I take pictures of myself, and then it's awkward when you're scrolling through your phone, like, look at my dog, and you're like, oh, forget that, you know? Like it's like you're like taking a weird photo just for reference. But
Yeah. Man, I hope I'm not missing the point of the question, but I mean, like I do. I mean, we work with like stick figures with dots for eyes and stuff, but I do take like reference photos of my face if I'm doing like a weird face or something, and sometimes that's enough to kind of get me going, and you know, because I'm looking at a blank screen, I don't know exactly what to do. Let's see if I can come up with something better. Do you have anything? For
Can
that?
I ask you guys something off of that?
Yeah.
So with lip sync, do you guys ever find yourself going,
well, if I'm drawing an expression, I'm just like if they're like doing this
Oh,
in
yeah.
the drawing, I'm like, make it higher, make it
Yeah.
higher. Like,
I always end up
or
making
like if
the-
you're mad, it's like,
Yeah. I always end up making the face that I'm drawing just instinctually.
are you having a good day? Yeah, it's fine. What?
Yeah, lip sync was one of the first things I learned how to do. So it's like automatic at this point. I did a lot of like Ren and Stimpy reference for that. I hope that was close.
No, that's all I needed here. Thank you so much.
Okay,
I
cool,
appreciate
cool.
it.
Hi.
Hello.
So, when y'all were in school or when y'all interacted with people who are currently in school for animation, what have you found, like what kind of ways can you work on juggling all the schoolwork that comes with an animation program and getting those really awesome side projects?
oh, I got a good one for that. So what I did was, one, I literally just, whatever free time I had, like that's just the side projects, you know, that I would focus on, and it was connecting with all the other students and everyone that wanted to do, you know, the same stuff, right? So it was connecting with the right group. Another thing I did is taking advantage of the school by applying to be a lab technician in the building that taught the program so I could get a master key to the building and stay there all night long. So I got paid to work in the building to do the stuff I wanted to do. And so that's just, when it comes to like balancing like how do I do side projects, schoolwork, or if you need a job or whatever it is, like honestly, like you have, this is again super cliche, but you got, you know, 24 hours in a day. I mean, that's what you make of it. I mean, my average sleep for the most part is probably 5 hours. So you just do what you can do when you can do it, and don't let anything else kind of halt you. But if you can find opportunities like that, go get that job that'll let you take advantage of situations like that.
Yeah. I've a less inspiring story. I got hired at Explosum when I had a year left of school, and my solution was just to slow everything down. So I turned a year into like a year and a half. So I ended up taking like half the amount of credits and working part-time for about a year. Just because I'm like, I don't want to give up this work opportunity so that I can get this degree so that I can then have a work opportunity. So I kind of divided my time in a way where I was able to do a bit of each. Yeah, that's pretty simple.
I think for me, I lived at home for since I was like 25. So, I honestly would say, like, don't be afraid to be at home. Like, if you want to work, if you want art to be your career and you want to, like, build that, like, don't be afraid of doing that, unless you want to move out. But for me, like, I worked at GameStop for a long time, but I made sure that didn't take over my time, so that way I still had a lot of time to do art on the side. And then when that became really big, that's when I was like, bye-bye GameStop, bye-bye parents, I'm gonna move out now. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So, what was the most memorable moment you've had while working on a project for a studio?
While working on the project, I'll never forget that time when we were there till like 9 a.m. the next day.
I was gonna say the same one.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys know the superhero episode of like season 2 of the Cyanide and Happiness show. It was like crazy. We had every superhero we'd ever made in it, and we were like, we got all this animation in, and we had to do fixes on every shot. So we were like an assembly line. Like, we'd open up a file, okay, animation fixes, okay, I got it fixed, and we'd hand it off to someone, they'd hand it to Adam, we'd put it in the editing, and it was like, it was like 9 a.m., right?
Yeah, we delivered at 9 a.m. We were going like all week on that thing, and it was a Friday, and it got to the point to where like it was so late, we were so tired, and like
laughing.
Everything was funny, and like the laughs were funny, and so we got delirious, but we went into like this autopilot mode where it literally was like, here you go, and then there you go, and then we'd sit and we'd wait for the editor to finish, and then he'd be like, oh, okay, cool, so now we got to fix this, and just came back around, and every time it came back around,
right.
So that was definitely one of my most memorable moments, because everything was really
it should have been so stressful, because we were doing so many late nights and all-nighters and stuff. But it was just, we got into such a rhythm, and we were just laughing at like how ridiculous it was that we were working this hard this late. But it was a real like bonding experience. Everyone who was there for that night is like, yeah, man, we did it. We pulled it through. We have like a picture of us just.
It always pops up every year. Like, remember this? I'm like, I don't want it.
Yeah, so.
It was good.
Yeah, that's both of ours. Yeah. Cool.
I think for me it was like coming full circle and actually painting the Krabby Patty. I was like, oh my gosh, like, like the up close version. I was like, I painted one of those. And then I think it was funny. The art director is super sweet. He's still there. And like, he sent me a project, and they gave me demo reels before I painted it, just to kind of get a feel of what was going on. And it was like a picture of a hand, and he had pointed to it saying it was Patrick's hand. And I watched the demo reel, and I was like, Patrick isn't in this show, like in this episode. And so I'm like, I think it's Plankton, because it was Plankton's hand. And so it was so awkward telling the art director, being like, I'm pretty sure that's Plankton's hand. Are you sure you don't want it? You want it green, or do you want it pink? And he's like, oh my gosh, that is Plankton's hand. Like, don't make it pink. Don't make it pink. I was like, okay, cool. So that was fun.
Every time I see those Krabby Patties, those look so good.
I
and
know.
then I had one in real life, and it was not.
Soaking wet.
It tasted like seawater, right?
It was. I don't know. Maybe you like them. I don't know.
Claws.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, first I want to thank you all for hosting this panel. Really
Yay.
excited about it. My name's Jaleesa, and my question is, how does someone with a writing background who has no experience in animation or storyboarding break into the animation field?
Are you wanting to do storyboarding or writing?
Writing.
Writing? I'd probably find writers.
Yeah. I'm probably not the best person to ask for it, but I would imagine just constantly just becoming a good writer in general, like that's dumb, right? Like, yeah, of course you want to be a good writer.
Just keep going.
Yeah, just be better. Yeah, no, just I guess learning how to write, you know, what a story consists of, you know, like all the beats of a story. I mean, script writing is very different than, you know, like book writing. So learning the difference between how to write a script and how to get that point across versus how to write like a narrative book, those are very, very different. So yeah, I mean, you'd probably be good too.
I mean, I can only speak to the kind of writing we do, which is short form kind of stuff. Is just some of the skills are like just be consistent, be able to, I guess you get better at writing by writing, so just do a lot of writing, be able to like iterate really quickly so you have notes and being able to implement and don't be too precious about what you've put together. Breaking in, I'm not sure, we do have a staff writer. He kind of was friends, he kind of like had networked and he was already friends with the guys at the time. So again, connections can kind of get you in. But yeah, I mean, it's just a lot of practice. Like I write a bunch of the shorts, and there's stuff that I wrote in 2014 that I would never write today, but I only got better because I just kept writing and writing and writing, and whether or not they got made into shorts, it was still practice, so.
And finish what you start.
Yeah.
Finish, because like, if you can't get into the habit of just finishing it, then, you know, how are you ever going to break that mold? You're always going to be like, it's not good enough. How do you know it's not good enough? You didn't finish it.
Right. Well, I think I've heard it's much easier to do a second draft on a crappy first draft than to just make the final draft the first time around.
Yeah.
So once something exists and it sucks, you can tighten it up.
And honestly, the best thing for you, like, as far as like, you know, you want to break into animation, right? That's like a lot of those writers are contracted out, you know. So like you could be a script writer and you're gonna, you know, break into, you know, live action, television, which television and film is a little bit different as far as the scripts go, and animation, and a lot of those writers come from, again, just that sort of like literature background, and so I don't think it's necessarily animation specific. It's just the type of storytelling that you do tell, and you know, I mean, I hope that's a good answer. I don't know.
Yeah. And I would just say find the companies that you're wanting to eventually work for and see how they write, you know.
Go to like writing meetups, see if you can bump shoulders with people and share scripts and stuff. Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool, you're very welcome.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
So you kind of answered my question a little bit, but what advice would you have for someone who might be starting later in life pursuing a career in animation, who may not have, well, actually doesn't have a college degree?
Okay.
Well,
Go ahead.
for me, I mean, I did do college, but my degree didn't help, you know? I mean, it didn't matter. And so I did a lot of online classes, like at least to get the skills that I needed to get my portfolio where it needed to be.
Right.
I think college for me was really good as far as like, you know, meeting people and having those connections and like being around people generally your age that you can make friends with and see where they go, and that's really cool. But yeah, I would say tackle online club courses too, because you can get certificates through that.
So how would you then apply, you know, you've spoken a lot about applying, so if you were to try to submit to an animation studio, like how would you go about doing that if, you know?
Yeah, I mean, sorry.
Oh, you go ahead, man.
If you want to apply, it depends on like what studio you want to go to, right?
Right.
They're always going to put up the job postings and career postings and whatnot. This is I can speak off of our experience. I never look at people's age. I don't care what school they went to. I don't care if they have a degree. One of our best animators that we've had never had a degree. And sorry, you want?
Oh no, I was gonna say our office is like, it's just, it's full of stories of people who didn't go to school, who did something else for a long time. Our animation director has a degree in biology. He was a biology teacher for like 5 years. He took a couple of years of animation mentor classes, and he's He's the best animator
He's
we
our
have.
animation director now.
We have another guy who, right after high school, went to community college for a bit, then worked at AT&T for a long time. Came back, he was our best animator at the time. Like,
Became our technical director.
yeah, we've got a guy, Joel, one of the head writers, was working an office job for 10 years, I think.
Yeah.
He's head staff writer.
He was bumming it on the couch, and that's how he made friends with like one of the creators and stuff.
Yeah, so it's
If I
never.
remember correctly.
Yeah, it's never too late. It's literally.
No.
I mean, again, I never would have known this until
Right.
hiring people. But yeah, the first thing we look at is what's on that demo reel, and then if there's a college degree involved, that's cool. But we're never gonna look at like a Cal Arts or a SCAD and be like, oh cool, let's just hire him right now. No, we have to see
Yeah.
the demo reel. So
Those.
all it takes is just the work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, those names help. Like, I won't lie. Like, if
They don't-
SCAD jumps up,
Not for
as
me.
far as visually seeing the demo reel, like the names help as far as going, oh well, there's SCAD. Well, let me look at the reel because they have a track record.
Right.
That's just a given. But that doesn't mean that they're good. I've gotten so many SCAD people that unfortunately just weren't up to par, and then we've seen people that never had a degree and like, this is incredible. So like you said, like there's Animation Mentor. You can get a certificate through that. I know a lot of people have done that. I have a friend that did that, and then they went to Blizzard and they were working on all their cinematics and stuff, and they didn't go get a normal college degree.
Yep.
So college helps in the best form, in my opinion. If you have absolutely nowhere to start and you don't really know how to go about any of it, it doesn't help to take a couple classes, whether it's online or Animation Mentor or whatever, just for the sake of finding some of that groundwork, which you can find at a lot of other places online. But the best part is, like April said, was networking and meeting people and making friends, because a lot of the I was at another talk one time, and one of the directors, was a dude from Real Effects, said, look around you, like those are going to be your peers, right? Like you guys want to all carry yourselves, and that's how you all help each other. And so just finding that right group, which you can do 100% without school, and like age doesn't matter. Like if you apply to us tomorrow and your like stuff is through the roof, which you can do because you're doing it on your own, yeah, I'm going to hire you. Like
Yeah.
that'd be stupid not to.
Nice.
So-
That's very encouraging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll send you an email on Monday.
Sounds good.
Looking forward to
Thank
it.
you. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Yeah.
My question is directed to April.
Okay.
I'm actually going to school specifically it's actually for a studio art degree, but I always want to work within the animation industry, whether that would be not necessarily animating, but the more technical side of it. What place would there be for people who are more technical artists or studio artists to work there, and the effort they would have to put in to get within that field?
Are you wanting to be like a programmer, or are you talking about like layout design, as far as the technical art?
What do you mean by technical art?
Oh, that's what you said. You wanted to do more technical art.
I meant like
Right.
traditional or studio based.
Oh, okay. So it's kind of sad because my thought was, Disney's still doing gouache. They're not. And it's like, oh, animation's all still like traditionally painted, and honestly, SpongeBob is a diamond in the rough. Like, not really. I mean, not many animations do fine art. But I would honestly just encourage you to start doing digital art. It is like a different monster, but you can still take the skills that you've learned with physical paint and apply them digitally, which is really good. I did feel like I had a one-up against some animators because I had, the basics down. I had anatomy and like color and light. So I would say like pursue the digital side, but you can definitely keep your fine art side alive. That's what I've done this whole time.
Yeah, because you were saying that you were doing background art, and I thought that was interesting because that is more traditional based as well.
Oh yeah, and like, as far as background art goes, like you're still painting, you're still using color, and there is like different versions of that. So I'm doing like the last step, which is basically taking someone's outline and coloring it in. But then the person before me does layout, so that's like the clean version of the background with just lines. And then the person before that is like rough placing it in, and then the person before that is storyboarding. So it's kind of just like picking the part that you feel fits you best. For a long time, I thought it was storyboarding for me, but I don't like drawing humans that much. And so I was like, I'm going to draw trees or paint them, because that's what I enjoyed doing. So I guess it's just kind of picking like what step you enjoy the most, if you like sketching or if you like painting or if you like really making a clean drawing. So, yeah.
Thank you.
So, what would you say the best way is to turn a simple design into a complicated design? Well, make it look like a complicated design.
Complicated.
I mean, are you talking about like backgrounds or
Like characters.
characters? I would say it's probably detail, but
Detail. I think for me, like the best character designs kind of have like simple. They're built of simple shapes. Like you look at Homer Simpson, he's got like a little dome head. Like I think if you're able to, I hope this is
iconic.
Yeah. I feel like for me, I always try to give a character a nice silhouette, which basically means like you shade them all black. You can tell who the character is just from their outline. And a lot of that is, I guess, comes with practice. Just kind of, if you want like a rounded character, a boxy character like the dude from Up. When you say complicated, do you mean, what do you mean by complicated?
What I mean by complicated,
Mhm.
let's say I have a simple character that's just made out of basic shapes.
Right.
How do I make it look like I spent more time on that than I actually did?
Oh, you spend more time on it than.
Trying to cheat the system.
Yeah, I respect that. It just takes more time. I think, I guess one of the early things I did, I do a lot of character design on the show. I got really good at just replicating stuff that I liked. So I can draw like a near perfect Garfield. I can draw Homer
Just
Simpson.
bragging about it the other day.
Yeah, that's one of the only things I can draw really well as a Garfield. But I think you draw enough of things that you want to draw, things, whether that's Dragon Ball Z or whatever it is. And then you kind of get that hand-eye coordination and you're able to replicate it in your own stuff. And
So muscle memory.
that's exactly it. It's a boring answer, but yeah, just do
If
it.
you're
Just do
drawing
it
a
lot.
square, make it a cube. There you go.
Yeah,
It
Yeah.
just told us 5 minutes, so we'll
5 minutes, okay.
quick fire these last ones, I guess.
Cool.
Okay, I'm a literature focused person who broke into animation as well, and I literally just did my first stick waving last week. So my
Congratulations.
question is, how is it different animating an animal as opposed to animating a human being?
A lot.
There's
Very
two
different.
more legs
Yeah.
Yeah.
most of the time.
It's very different, and I was talking with our animation director on that. Like, a lot of people will jump in because they want to do animation. Animation, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
They want to do animals first. You need a lot of reference, and you want to get your basics down first. Like, if
Yeah.
just take 2 legs and make them walk. Just make 2 legs walk. You don't need a body. You don't need anything else. Make the 2 legs walk, and then you add the torso, and then you add the arms, and then learn all the different aspects of the weight and the movement, and the balance of everything. And then once you kind of have all those basics down, then you can move on, to animals and stuff, which are more complex. It's basically all the same thing, but more.
Yeah, I think mastering like a walk cycle is a great way to get in. Doing a human walk cycle, there's tons of like awesome YouTube tutorials, and then then you can do like a lion walk cycle or an animal or something like that. And then once you it's second nature to you, what this leg is doing and the back leg and everything, then you can kind of get more advanced with it. But for me, my end point was just walk cycles. Anything I wanted to do, I had to know how it walked. So there's a lot of study and like reference you have to take in. But yeah, just baby steps.
There's a site called rhino.com that has a lot of animal references where it's literally slow motion so you can watch how the muscle moves.
Yeah.
Let me write that down.
I've seen it. It's good.
That's fun though.
Hello.
Oh, hello. My name's Avery. As you can see, so I want to be a top motion animator. Do you have any any tips for that?
Oh man, I wish I was still. I did a lot of stop motion when I first started out. I didn't take it to a professional level though. I'm bummed about that.
I have a friend that actually works at Leica, where they do all those stop motion movies. And what he did is he did a lot of animation in Maya, so everything was 3D, right? It's the same principle. Instead of it's the same advice like we just gave previously, where learning the walk cycles, learning how everything is balanced and all that. Because just think about it this way: if you can learn it there,
Yeah.
the only difference is the mouse is your hand.
Right.
That's pretty much it. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. If you can learn it digitally, it's just taking the same exact concept and then just doing it frame by frame with a camera.
Yeah,
So-
and thanks to like technology and the internet today, if I don't know if you already do some stop motion at home, it's something you can get acquainted with. Like there's apps on your phone now. I think when I started, I had like a crappy camera and like this horrible software. So like you can get acquainted with it and get used to like how it feels, so that by the time you can like afford Dragon Frame and some cool cameras, you're not learning it all at once. So yeah. Cool.
You guys cool if we do one more question?
Yeah,
Pushing it,
yeah, of
but
course.
yeah. Okay, cool.
We can't.
The guy in the we can't do two more real quick.
Do we?
can't-
Yeah, we can
we
do
get-
two.
Do
You guys
two
are
more.
good. Yeah, let's do two more.
Yeah,
Okay,
let's do it.
okay.
What would you suggest for creating your own animation series? Like where to get started, especially if you don't know if you can afford college.
Right.
Creating your own animation series. I know we're doing. I mean, you know, we've done stuff like development for shows and stuff. I think one of the first steps was kind of putting together a character Bible, getting
Bible.
Like a pitch.
Pitch deck.
yeah, getting everything laid out so that you can place your characters in any situation and you know what they would do. I don't know much about like financially, like getting that off the ground. I know there's a lot of.
Well, is your question how to pitch to a company or just how to start a series? Because you can just start a series whenever.
Right.
And
Because I have the whole idea planned out. I've worked
Yeah.
on it for years, but
Okay.
I don't know how I would start to get that to become a real thing, other than just me creating it. How would I get that out into the world?
Well, that's actually, I mean, so that's a great way. I think a really good example is, I don't know if you're familiar with Olin Rogers. He's a really great example where he writes a bunch of stuff on YouTube, and I don't believe I'm not sure, he might animate, but he might get other people to animate as well, the stuff that he writes. And they just did sort of like a tease or a pilot just on their YouTube channel, and I guess somehow that got around. I hope this is the way the story went. That went around to Conan's company, and Conan O'Brien and all them were like, "Oh, great, let's make this into a show," and that's Final Space. Another good example is a guy that I know, a friend of ours, Jason Waite. He has his own YouTube channel, and there's this. It's called like Starfish. Starship Goldfish. And he put a pilot up on there, and RTX, Rooster Teeth, I guess, either they were friends or they saw it, through YouTube, and now he writes for them, or as a contract writer for them. So as far as getting your show out there, it's just learning how to make an art Bible and a pitch deck. But I think, in my opinion, and I, don't take this as gospel, I just think that one of the best approaches would be, if nobody's going to come to you or buy it from you, then just make it. And then eventually somebody's going to see that and go, whoa, yeah, I like this. Let's make this a thing. And you'll get contacted, or you'll go to other conferences and stuff where you can actually show them something like, hey, I have this show that I want to make, and I've actually done a pilot. You never want to go up to somebody and go, hey, I'm just meeting you for the first time, but guess what? I got an idea. I got a show. It doesn't work like that.
And also, don't be afraid to scale it back a little bit. Because again, the Starship Goldfish, first thing they put out was an animatic. It was a very rough version of the show, and someone sees that and they say, yeah, okay, let's realize this and animate it and everything. So, if you have to do that yourself, if you want to commission someone, you can do a stripped down version of what you eventually want to be bigger. But I think just making it exist in itself is a big feat. So
just get it out there. Just make it and get it out there. And again, learn how to have a pitch deck so you just know, so that you have that ready.
Yeah.
So, you could try kickstarting it too.
Yeah.
In regards to portfolios, for starting artists and animators who just want somewhere to post their work to get some constructive criticism or so they can see how their progress is going, what is a good platform that lands in between DeviantArt or something like DeviantArt, which tends to be very casual and kind of messy, and ArtStation, which is good but tends to lean very, very professional?
I would probably say Instagram again as
Yeah.
the middle ground, because like there's still professionals on Instagram. I have a friend and she sells her work like immediately on Instagram, but I feel like that one you have a little more like room to be like a little less professional, but you can still put your art out there for professionals to see. And because it's Instagram, they're not going to judge it super hard like ArtStation, and DeviantArt is its own thing.
Yeah, and if you're trying to get like, you were saying criticism?
Yeah.
Yes.
If you're trying to get criticism,
Twitter maybe.
yeah, all of them, Twitter, Instagram, everything. But I think also another good way to do it is just to simply, if you follow an artist that you really like,
Yeah.
it doesn't hurt to send them a message to say, hey, I love your work.
Yeah.
I made this and I would love to get some feedback if you ever have time. Worst case scenario, they never respond and you
Yeah.
move on to the next and you just keep going.
I bothered a very nice lady on LinkedIn, and she works at Titmouse. She gave me some awesome advice, and I think we had a connection through my like animation teacher, and so yeah, like a lot of the advice that I give is stuff that she literally told me. So yeah, it doesn't hurt. Like people are friendly, So ask for help.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
All right, guys, can we thank our panelists one more time? Thank you guys so much for coming, and thank you guys so much for coming. I hope you have a great rest of your con.
Yeah.
Bye.